There are 1 million people diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in the US. So that makes you 1 in a million. And you have a special purpose in this world that no diagnosis can take away from you. So if you are ready to reclaim your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis, welcome to my MS podcast. I'm your host, Alene Brennan. Hello and welcome to my MS podcast. This podcast has been on my heart for quite a long time, so I am thrilled that it's finally in your hands, and most of all, that you decided to hit play to hear what it's all about. I created this podcast because when I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS in 2016, I was overwhelmed. And for the first time in my life, I didn't have a single friend who could relate to what I was going through. I searched online and saw all the worst case scenarios alongside a lot of generic information about MS. You know, all the medical jargon, statistics, and meaningless definitions. I didn't feel like I fit in with support groups, and a lot of the online communities seemed so doom and gloom. What I wanted, what I needed, was someone who I could have a real conversation with about getting diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I wanted someone who could truly understand what it was like to be handed this diagnosis. And most of all, I wanted this person to show me how I could protect the part of me that I didn't want MS to touch, the real me. I didn't want MS to become my story or my identity. I needed help figuring out how to live with multiple sclerosis in a way that I could still be me and I could still hold on to my hopes and dreams for the future. I didn't want to carry around resentment for the rest of my life because of this diagnosis. And if it was possible, I actually wanted this diagnosis to spark a more meaningful life for me. And now I can honestly say MS interrupted my life in a good way too. It forced me to take a step back and face the fact that I was burning myself out on things that really didn't mean a whole lot to me. I was constantly trying to do more, be better, go faster. That wasn't sustainable before my diagnosis, and it certainly wasn't sustainable with MS. After my diagnosis, I really started to see things differently. I tried to not see it as a complete or permanent setback. I saw it as an invitation to get off the treadmill of never-ending, meaningless to-dos. I saw it as an opportunity to live a more intentional life, a life where I give my time and energy to the people and things that are most meaningful to me. A life where I make pancakes on a Saturday morning with my family instead of rushing off to errands or cleaning. A life where I stop scrolling mindlessly on my phone so I can have a real conversation with a friend that I haven't talked to since college. A life where I have the courage to launch this podcast and connect with my fellow MS sisters. If you're listening to this podcast, it likely means that you or someone you love is living with multiple sclerosis, and you likely want to live beyond this diagnosis too. That is why the tagline for this podcast is Reclaim Your Body, Mind, and Life from Multiple Sclerosis. My friends, we can still be healthy and live a meaningful life, even if we can't be cured. This isn't about thinking happy thoughts or pretending that MS doesn't exist. This is about keeping it all the way real. We will have hard days, some really hard days. We will have ups and downs, and we will have setbacks. But when you say yes to reclaiming your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis, you're saying yes to learning new ways to support your healing. Yes to having fun along the way, and yes to celebrating the small wins. You're saying yes to prioritizing your time and energy on what is most meaningful to you in this life. You're saying yes to making special memories from ordinary moments. We may even find ourselves eating a healthy meal we would have never otherwise tried. And now we're not only enjoying it, but we're actually looking forward to trying another new recipe too. Hey, I'm a nutrition coach specializing in multiple sclerosis, so you knew I was going to give a little plug for some deliciously healthy food there. But on that note, I do want to take a minute to share with you my background as a nutrition coach, because nutrition is a topic that I'll be sharing with our community here. I've had an interest in nutrition from a really young age. It was because I got debilitating migraines growing up. I always felt like I was missing out on so much of life because of migraines. And I was following all of my doctor's recommendations, but the migraines still came just as strong. That's when my doctor handed me a list of foods that he casually said, oh, by the way, these may trigger migraines. This list ended up changing my life in more than one ways. It began my search to ultimately identifying the foods that were my personal migraine triggers, but it also opened my eyes to the power that food has to change how I feel in my body. It's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Or maybe better said, once you experience it, you can't unexperience it. So over the years, food was always something that I used to support my body. I still embraced conventional medicine when needed, but food was a tool that was within my control and could help me feel better in my body. So, of course, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I once again turned to food. What could it do for me now? I wanted to see how it could support my body with this new diagnosis. And I quickly saw the lack of education and support for the MS and autoimmune community. So I dedicated my nutrition coaching practice at that time to the MS community to help fill this gap for us. And throughout my career, I've completed 6 extensive trainings in both functional nutrition and culinary nutrition. I'm certified specifically in the WALS protocol and the autoimmune protocol. I did so many trainings to study the different approaches because I knew cookie cutter approaches don't work. I wanted to be able to customize plans so that they were not only effective, but they were also realistic and sustainable. And over the years, I've worked with thousands of women around the world, just like yourself, to create these plans that are, again, realistic and sustainable. On this podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you my personal experience living with multiple sclerosis, along with my personal opinions around nutrition and what I've learned as a nutrition coach specializing in MS. You'll hear me say this a lot throughout the podcast, but it's important that you know upfront that the information I share is not medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for any and all medical and health needs. Because most of all, I'm coming to you as your fellow MS sister. This is about coming together to support one another and lift each other up. So let me tell you a little bit about the future of this podcast. First, I'm releasing 3 episodes today because it's launch day, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to dive into some episodes right away. Moving forward, I'll be releasing 3 new episodes every week. Monday and Wednesday will be regular episodes. These will have seasons or a theme to them. And each season will run for a couple of weeks, allowing us to get a deep dive on some of the topics that are most important to you. If you have a special request for a topic or a question that you'd really love answered on this podcast, please send me a note. I love hearing your requests and the topics that are of most interest to you. So Monday and Wednesday are regular episodes. On Friday, I have something special for you. It's an exclusive MS in the News episode. These episodes are slightly shorter and are designed to help you stay up to speed on the latest research and trends about MS. Research is always evolving with both conventional and functional medicine, as well as with nutrition and gut health. So I want you to be the first to know and to always stay ahead of the curve. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you're notified when new episodes are released. My friends, this podcast is an invitation to elevate your life with MS, to start thriving with MS. If you still want to dream big, pursue your passions, or simply find peace with your diagnosis, this is for you. Here, you'll find tools, conversations, and a community dedicated to helping you reclaim your body, mind, and life with multiple sclerosis. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever new episodes are released. And thank you for being here. I hope that this is the beginning of something life-changing for us all. Well, my friend, we've reached the end of this episode. Pick one lesson from today's discussion and put it into action now. It's time to reclaim your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis. And for more resources, events, and programs, head over to alenebrennan.com. See you on the next episode of my MS podcast.